Okay, so I'll continue live. This is part 2 of the video.
Oh, your dad called.
Yeah, well, let's just keep moving on with the video, Grandpa. My dad called, but we're going to continue. This is part 2 of the video about life after death. I think this is really interesting. We need a part 2 anyways. We're going to fit it in one taking.
All right, to keep the spirit of the loved one alive, you don't have to have a big altar like what I have here. If you have a small apartment space, you don't own your own home, or you have the 1-bedroom apartment, just a little place in the corner to where you can have a few pictures of the loved one, whether it's a child or whether it's a father, a mother, or whether it's your wife, like in my case, it's my wife. But you need that there little place to where you can come and sit down, whether it doesn't have to be a chair like that. You can kneel or whatever, just some place to where you can come and keep the memory alive and sit there and go about how many the years you had with the loved one that you lost. And by doing that there, you keep the memory alive. And by doing that, you keep yourself going, because you know that there time that you focused and kept your focus on the person that you love, whether it's your child, or whether it's your father, your mother, or your wife. Whoever you've lost and you love, you want to give that little space to where you can go. Because if you take and put the pictures all away and everything's put away, you lose the memory. The memory will start fading away. And you don't want that to happen, because when that happens, it's like people get Alzheimer's disease. You lose your memory. You don't want that to happen. So if you keep the memory of 50 years of my wife, me being together, I come home and I look forward to that when I'm trucking and stuff. I keep her memory alive. When I come home, that's what I look forward to. I'd be able to sit here and I think about all the good times that we had and everything, and what we did throughout our lives together and stuff. I keep her memory alive. That keeps me going. Because if I don't have that, then I would say, you know what? I'm a person who has nothing. I'm all alone in the world. But with somebody who has had 50 years of beautiful marriage, I keep that their memory alive, and I do that by honoring and having this here place to come and worship my wife.
Yes, if you didn't see the first part, this is an altar right here that he has created for his wife. Went over everything before. Click on the first video. These are all, belongings. Her actual hair right there, her gun, her cell phone, her cigarettes, the last cup she drank out of before she passed. It's on the last video. But me, also, I feel like if you couldn't do it inside the house you live in, like if you had to get out of where you were at, I personally would recommend to go to the crossroads. When I say to go to the crossroads, I'm talking about go to any railroad track around you, especially if you could symbolize that person been to that area or that city and they were might have crossed those railroad tracks. Those are very good railroad tracks. Like, for example, I went to the railroad tracks in National City where my Tia might have crossed because she passed away at a young age, and I bought her a Tijuana mama because that's what she used to eat. And I left her an offering at the railroad track. So if you have no place to go to the crossroads to leave offerings and gifts to your loved ones who have passed on. But this is a reality that we all must accept one day. No one lasts forever. But when we pass, that's when we hit real eternity.
That's forever.
That's forever. This is just temporary. So it's life and stuff. So if you're miserable with your life, then you should change it right now, because this existence isn't always going to be here. reality that you're facing right now and the struggles you're facing right now is just temporary. So if you're putting yourself down in a fake world and living in hell, then that's probably what's going to reflect when you pass on. But if you choose to even find peace, or you choose to find heaven with that and hell, or you choose to find like the beauty within your struggle, I feel like once you pass, you'll be in a better place. Like that's my afterthought. Like nobody could escape the reality of life after death. It's gonna hit you, and it's gonna hit you before it hits you. It's gonna hit you, and the ones you love the most, you're gonna see them move on before you move on. Right?
Yes. They move on before you, and you wait till your time to move on. Some people, they move on. They have never had the relationship of 50 years. They may have been with a companion for 4 or 5 years, and they've decided at that point to move forward in their life with a new person. But people who have been together for years and years, they have that companionship and they don't move forward.
What do you feel, grandfather, or like what advice would you give for like a long lasting relationship? Like for the kind of love that you had for your wife?
I would say it would have to be understanding and forgiveness. You have to be able to give. At the same time, you have to be able to accept and to take. One person in a marriage cannot be everything that says, you got to do this, you got to do this. You have to have that meeting ground to where both people in the marriage can say, okay, we agree to this here. If you have a marriage where it's all one way, that's not a marriage. That's a domination of a marriage, whether it's by the male or whether it's by the female. There has to be a giving to where you both agree on certain things. You may not agree all the time on one thing, but there has to be that agreeableness to where you agree on things that you both enjoy and you both love to do and everything else. And without that there understanding, you will never have 50 years of marriage. In other words, there's been times to where I thought that everything I did was the right decisions to make, but I learned as I was going down the line that, you know what, hey, my wife, if I would listen to her, I wouldn't have made those dumb choices. But see, that was the macho part of the man that wasn't listening to the female. So once you get over that there part of where you got that companionship where you two can work together, that's what makes a lasting marriage. And when you have that there part where you guys can agree, you don't have to agree on everything, but you have to have that part of the marriage to where companionship and you agree. And it's not you agree because I got to agree because if I don't agree, it's not going to be right. No, you reach an agreement where you both think that it's going to work for the both of you. Well, you're going to go buy a new car. You're going to go buy a used car where you both like this house or that house. You go through what you don't like about that car or what is good about this house or what's bad about that house. It's cannot be a one-way street. It has to be a street that both of you can go down together. That's what makes a happy marriage. And when you have that there part of the marriage going, then you'll live to be 100 years and be happy together. One of you in that partnership will know when one isn't feeling good about a situation. Then it's up to that partner in that their situation, whether it's me or my wife, will come around and say, well, honey, what do you think? Do you think we're making the right decision or what? And one will voice their opinion. Then you'll sit down and you discuss it. then you'll look at and realize that, you know what, hey, maybe we are paying too much for this car. Maybe we don't need this car after all. Maybe, honey, you like that there car. It was the kind of car you always wanted, but can we afford it? See, it comes down those kinds of decisions you sit down and you talk about together as a husband and a wife. Then you make a choice together. It's not a one-way street.
If you agree, he's dropping some golden substance on you guys. Subscribe, like the channel right now. Drop it in comments if you have any questions. What do you feel like a person should walk away, or any red flags or warnings when it comes to like marriage or going long term with somebody, that they should just call it quits?
I would say in a marriage, in the first 2 or 3 years of a marriage, if you have a companion, husband, wife, who's unfaithful, I would not recommend anybody continue the marriage any further than that there, because deception is the killer of the marriage. And a marriage that's been going on for 20 years or something, if there's an adulteress or the husband has been an adulterer, or the wife or whatever, I would say at that point there, if there is no children involved, no
That you gotta cut ties.
that you
And
gotta,
even if there's children involved, sometimes you guys have to still cut ties. Just
right.
depending,
If there's no way,
if it could be healthy.
if there's no way to repair the marriage, and if it was a mutual thing, it was one of those things where typically what happens in a marriage is a husband will go out and have an affair, and the wife finds out about it. Then the wife goes and has an affair. Then the husband finds out about it. Then there's chaos. Then that leads to more chaos. Then there's no further continuing marriage. It's time for a divorce. Now, if there's one cheating partner in it, and it happened in 20 years of marriage or something, if that partner is willing to forgive, and there is hope of saving the marriage, then I would say try to save the marriage.
What if the partner continues to cheat?
If the partner continues to cheat, there was no marriage to begin with, because the partner was a cheater from the get-go.
So you only give them one time of basically rendition.
One time.
And if you guys are going beyond one time, that's one time too many.
Oh, yes.
Especially if there's no improvement, no change.
One time is it.
And words don't mean nothing, but actions mean more than words, basically.
Correct.
Then that's, even if, you're not going to have something like this 50 years of happy marriage. You guys are just going to be faking it. So you're going to have two options, either to split up or stay together and be miserable. But by that time, like completing like a happy marriage for a long time like this is going to be basically impossible. You're better off starting over again.
That's it. If you are not happy and you both have to go and cheat on with other,
There's no reason to stay if you're so unhappy.
correct. Not for 20 years, not for 10 years, not for 5 years, not for 6 years. The first 2 years of marriage is going to distinguish how you're going to live out the rest of the years of marriage. If in the 2 years of marriage, if you cannot work out your
What if they're not cheating, but they just can't stand each other?
if they cheating and they cannot stand each
What
other,
if they're not cheating, but they just can't stand each other?
the
They
marriage,
don't get along.
the marriage,
They argue.
the marriage will never last.
Okay. So you guys should have a genuine connection.
Yes, if you don't have that,
Regardless if you guys, maybe you guys will treat each other good, maybe you guys don't cheat on each other, but maybe you guys really have no genuine connection.
you're 100% right there.
that's not real love. Then you guys are just faking it for the pictures, for your family, for the funk. Then ultimately, even if you guys stay together, you be faithful, you guys are still deep down going to be unhappy and living a lie.
That's right.
And not living your purpose either.
That's right.
And there might be somebody out there that's truly for you, but now you're denying that because you choose to put up an image.
Right.
Instead of live your truth.
You've stayed in a marriage that you weren't happy in. And my recommendation is if you're in a marriage that you're not happy in, whether it's 2 years, 5 years, 10 or 15 years, you should get out of that marriage because it's not for you.
Even if it's 1 month.
Even if it's 1 month.
If your intuition or something's telling
you. You will know. Your heart's going to tell you that.
Do you think most people listen to their hearts nowadays?
No, I think most people listen to their brain, and sometimes their brain waves don't communicate the way their heart does.
What do you think the problem is listening to your brain?
Well, because your brain can be off-tracked by distractions and everything else, and your heart is what makes the blood pump and get the adrenaline pouring. It's like when I met my wife, I was 17 years old, and I've seen a lot of beautiful women and stuff, and when I was walking down the street, I seen her, and I happened to glance at her, and I looked at her and said, man, she's so beautiful, and I was walking with a friend of mine at that time. My friend, he says, oh, you don't want to talk to her? And I said, why not? Oh, because she's stubborn. She won't talk to nobody, And I said, she's beautiful, man. Oh, she's beautiful, but she's stubborn. She won't talk to guys, So 2 or 3 days later, I was coming by there, and she was out on the porch with her sisters there, and I waved at her, and she didn't wave back. And I stopped. They had a picket fence in front of their house, and I stopped there, and I started talking, And then I finally got her to say hi, got her name. Once I got her name, I walked a couple of times down that street, and I happened to see her out there. Finally, I was able to take her out on a date. And in those days, you couldn't take her out on a date by yourself. She had chaperones. You had to take a little sister with her. That was the old Mexican custom. Yeah, you had to take a chaperone, and that's what I had to do. And it wasn't easy, I was a gringo with a Mexican woman, and they had those customs and stuff, and I had to do what the dad and mom said, and she had to be back there by 9 o'clock at night if we went to a movie, and there was no going to the movie by ourselves. We had to take a chaperone with us, one of her sisters. But hey, you know what? That's the way it was.
And how long did you date her like that, where you had to go on chaperone dates?
Like 2.5 years.
2.5 years?
Yeah. Then we ended up getting engaged and got married.
Was it rough, like when your relationship started out because of her family, or?
It was, well, for me, because I wasn't accustomed to the old Mexican tradition. Yeah, it was rough for me, being a gringo dating a Mexican girl. But, I accepted, because if I wanted to date her, that's the only way I was going to be able to date her. I had to do what the family said, so I had to do it. And I had to set my pride aside, and I had to do what the family wanted me to do, and it was well worth it. I have no regrets about it. I have no regrets.
This is when you guys first started dating right here?
Yes, that's about...
you guys look under age right here.
We're about 19, 20 there.
Okay, yeah, you guys look super young. I just hope you guys, find some true love, some true happiness,
Yeah, we did. We had almost 50 years.
This is what it looks like, 50 years. Either we break up when we're young, or we say goodbye when we die.
That's it.
And then love comes to kill us at the end of it all. Are there any last words or anything you'd like to say about the afterlife before we tune out of this show?
No, just waiting for the date. Waiting for that date down here is all.
He's waiting to join her.
Yeah, we're just waiting for them to punch in my date.
He comes home and talks to her. He still keeps a relationship. He still keeps it alive. Probably more than some of you guys are doing, and your partner is alive right now. You guys probably come home, sadly, and you get on your phones. And you will pay no damn attention to your partner. And you sit there, you texting the next person, you sitting there watching videos. Are you guys really spending time with your partner? Because this reality isn't forever. This reality, sadly comes to an end one day. And this is all you have to remember. While you were sitting on your phones, texting other people, not paying attention to your partner, making them feel unworthy. You might not be aware of this, but time like this, natural things like this, natural love like this, it takes attention, it takes time, it takes dedication, blood and tears. It does not take you sitting up on your cell phone, not doing shit, and just ignoring your situation. You never know when your last day is gonna be your last with your love. If you really love that person, put your phone down. Subscribe to the channel, gives it a thumbs up if you feel what we're talking about. Because all roses die at the end of the day. And we're just a bunch of roses in a garden out here. Love y'all. Subscribe. Be blessed. This is some golden substance. Honor your dead. A dead honor. And give the best shot you have to give in your relationships. If it's not for you, walk away, because you're probably eliminating yourself from true love right now. This is your girl, Sonia Flores, and I'm about to tune out. Good night, y'all.